Welcome back to a Pairs 12 knitting tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to prepare a button loop that sits outside of the fabric. In particular, this is following instructions for my design called the Kingsburg Keyhole Pullover with a beautiful keyhole feature in the back and one button. We're going to be creating the loop for that button. We're following directions as per the length of yarn required, and we're going to break it. And what we're going to do, I have plied yarn that I'm working with in this particular example, is I'm going to be twisting the yarn in the direction of the ply. The whole objective is to create a double thickness of yarn that's coiled around itself to offer increased strength and increased thickness. This can be equally done with unspun yarn. Of course, because unspun yarn is not plied nor twisted, you can twist in any direction you want as long as you stay consistent. What I'm doing in this example is I'm holding the yarn consistently between my index finger and my thumb of my left hand, and I'm coiling or twisting with my right index finger and thumb of my right hand. And also, naughty, dirty little knitting secret, I find that I'm using a little bit of spit from my mouth, some saliva, to add extra resistance on my thumb and finger so I can twist the yarn much more effectively. Think of almost like a spit splice, that same kind of idea. It offers me the added, strength and stickiness to twist the yarn that much more effectively. And you're seeing as I continue to twist the yarn in the same direction as the ply, it continues to coil up on itself. And that's exactly what we want. We put those two ends together, loop one side, and kind of just let it go on the looped side, and it twists upon itself. If you're a hand spinner, you know exactly what we're talking about here. If you're not, this is like the quick and dirty of how to do it. So we have one side, of course, that's folded or it has that loop. I'm just showing you here with my tapestry needle, and other side is the loose end side. This is the two strands that we twisted. So we're going to be using that side, the loose end side, to thread our needle, and you'll see why. There's a reason for all of this. So we thread our tapestry needle, and now, of course, we want to work it through our fabric. And it's going to be laying outside of that fabric, not flush, 3D, if you will, acting as a loop to fasten the button closed. So with my threaded needle, I'm going to be working from the wrong side of my fabric, just lining up. And this is what I wanted to show in the video as well. I want to line up. So I'm eyeballing here where I want that loop to be placed. And I'm going to be coming from the wrong side of my fabric to the right side of my fabric. So bringing my needle through. And of course, not pulling the thread of yarn all the way through. And again, this is double thickness, so it offers a really, I feel, beautiful and, workable thickness of yarn. And I'm bringing it from the right side to the back side through. Nothing, super special or fancy here happening. But what I am doing is you're going to see, again, there's just a little technique that I'm going to add on just to make it super clean in a moment, but just giving you the idea of what that loop would be looking like around the button. So I'm just giving an idea of is this exactly where I want it to be? Because I always find, yes, you can pull out your work at any case with yarn, but before you knot and weave in that end, is it exactly how we want it? So I just play with the loop a bit to see if this is exactly the location where I want that to be. Now I'm looking at the wrong side of the fabric. I have that loop that's being created from our twisted or coiled yarn. I'm going to be bringing my tapestry needle through the loop that offers a closure of our loop on the back. And this I had played around a while with technique. This one's the easiest and cleanest version that I came up with. And again, just tightening up on the end of my loop so that I'm not getting it, too loosey-goosey, but nor too tight, because of course I want the loop to be able to have the button go through the loop itself so I can open and close the neckline of the sweater. The whole idea of the button. All right, we're happy with that little loop there. So now what I'm going to do is just simply use the wrong side of the fabric, and with my working yarn, I'll call it, or the end of the loop, I'm just creating a little knot as I would in my knitting, and just making sure, again, I'm checking all the time, just making sure that it is absolutely the way I want it, making sure that my button is sitting properly, and then it's lined up. And we're happy with it. Happy little loop. Cute. All right, back to the wrong side of the fabric again. And now all I'm going to do is simply weave in that end. So I'm just going to go under a stitch with my tapestry needle. Of course, my yarn is still threaded through, and I'm just going through what is that last stitch of the fabric where the keyhole is, and going through one stitch at a time, just weaving through my needle, which again will bring through that end of my loop to weave in my end. And the last one I always want to bring in towards my sweater, so that if and when the little end ever pokes out, it won't poke out on the outside, but it'll poke out within the inside. So again, it just offers the cleanest finish I can get. Using my handy dandy craft scissors, super fancy. Give it a little snip to cut that end. And I just give it a little last check to make sure we are super sorted. And of course, satisfied with what we just did. Totally are. Happy little button with a cute little closure of our loop. Tidy, clean, and all set.